Welcome to the Art of Education's Art Room Hacks. Join us as we talk about digital and traditional photography hacks to make teaching photos so much easier. Hi, art teachers. My name is Chris Hodge, and I'm an art teacher from the Chicagoland area. Have you been wanting to take your light writing to a whole new level, but professional light wands are too far out of your budget? Then I have a hack for you. Transforming an ordinary and inexpensive work light, you can make it into a colorful light wand. All you need is some tape and some colorful gels. You could also use a permanent marker to create your colorful wand. I usually have the students start by cutting up the gels and then working together to figure out what arrangement will work best. This, of course, really comes to life when you get into a dark room and you can use the bulb setting to bring the magic out of that light wand. Color construction paper can be your key to helping students bring a pop of color into their photographs. Construction paper is inexpensive and readily available, and it's a great way for students to experiment with different ways of combining colors with their subject matter. It's also a great way to explore different color schemes: monochromatic, complementary, analogous, warm and cool. Look at all these great photos and how those color backgrounds really brought those photographs to life. With just an ordinary spray bottle and some water, you can have the students spraying magic into their photographs. I'll usually have the students working together in small groups where one person will be creating a mist while the other person captures the drama. This works best when you have a strong light source and deep shadows. You can really get some interesting effects. You might even capture a rainbow. Just make sure that your camera doesn't get wet in the process. Another way to work with the spray bottle is to spray droplets on things. You can have the students experiment with different surfaces and see if they can create some dewdrop looking drops. This can be great with a close-up. Let's check out some student samples. So majestic. How magical. Look how lush those photographs appear. You can also repurpose a bottle. Just make sure that you thoroughly wash it before the students use it. Have you ever wanted to get close to your subject? Like really close, but you don't have a macro lens? In order to do this technique, you'll need to set your camera to the manual metering mode. I usually set the ISO to around 800. You'll need to remove your lens. There's usually a release button on the face of your camera. Make sure that you're careful with your mirror and sensor. You need to set your shutter speed. I usually use 1/60th of a second. Now, you'll need to hold your lens backwards onto your camera. You'll notice that the zoom works opposite from what you're used to. You'll need to move the camera closer and further away to sharpen your subject. It's a great review of the exposure triangle, ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. It's a good time to talk about the camera sensor and keeping your equipment safe. Wasn't that a fantastic hack for getting closer to your subject? And it doesn't cost you a thing. Do you have a lot of film? It's underexposed or spotted or damaged or just left behind? You can try scratching, poking, drawing, or melting the film to create some amazing effects. Have the students experiment with their own techniques. See what things they can come up with either destroying or putting the film back together again. You can also try layering the film, one piece on top of another, and see what new images you can make. Never let bad film go to waste. Try transforming it and making something new. For an in-depth look at photography and how to incorporate this medium into the classroom, enroll in studio photography. This 100% remote graduate level course will teach you the principles of photography through visual storytelling. Be sure to tap on the link in the description box for more information. Here's something that you may not know about your Enlarger in the darkroom. You can turn your Enlarger into a microscope. I discovered this little hack while I was helping a student focus their photo in their Enlarger, and I saw something moving on their frame. What's this? Turns out a little bug had found its way inside the Enlarger. I'm really glad this happened though. I tend to look for objects that have an interesting shape or a certain level of translucence and detail. Flowers, dead leaves, bugs, newspaper, lace, bubble wrap, all can make for some interesting materials to enlarge. You can approach this in some different ways. You can sandwich the object in the negative carrier, or you can place it onto some blank or exposed film. You might find some interesting interactions between the object and the material that you're enlarging. Just make sure you don't leave the materials in the Enlarger. Sometimes when you're working with digital cameras, you're behind a computer, it can get a little bit repetitive. And it's nice to break things up with something that's a little bit more hands-on. One of my favorite lessons to do with my advanced students is a material exploration. And that's where they work with all different kinds of items and objects and incorporate them onto the surface of their photos. And then here's the trick. They're gonna re-photograph their photographs. I like to start by having them print all their images out. I'll set up different stations where each table will have a different theme for the materials the students are experimenting with. One table will have mechanical things, another table will have organic items. They can arrange these things onto their photographs in different interesting ways. I'll also include a light at that table, so that way they can experiment with lighting as well. It's all about exploration and seeing how these materials can really enhance the imagery that they've captured. You should introduce photography to your classroom, not just because it's an amazing way of teaching about composition, but also it teaches students to really appreciate the world around them. They're not just looking at the world around them, they're actually seeing it. When I started to do photography, I started to see things differently. I started to see beyond my subject, and I started to look at all four corners of the composition. I started thinking about things like foreground, middle ground, and background, and where I wanted to put my focus and emphasis at. This transformed the way that I not only think about composition, but also the way that I draw. So that's why photography is my favorite medium. Do you ever struggle with getting all of your student film in the wash before the end of the period, and you don't really have money to buy an expensive film washing unit? You can transform this into a film washer that'll take care of your entire class. You'll need to gather some materials. You can check your local hardware store, or your school's maintenance center may have some of these readily available. I found that 4-inch PVC pipe along with a 1-inch PVC pipe work great. You'll also need a 1-inch T-fitting, a 4-inch PVC base, and some tubing to connect to the faucet. PVC glue is optional. You'll need to cut the pipe to size. The size of pipe will be determined by how much room you have and how many rolls of film you're planning to wash at a time. Make sure you're testing this out as you go with the actual rolls of film to make sure it all fits together well. Then you'll need to attach the 4-inch PVC pipe to the base to keep it upright in the sink. Next, you need to attach the T-fitting to the 1-inch PVC pipe. This T-fitting will keep the spools in place while allowing the water to flow from the bottom of the washer, properly flushing out all the chemicals. There's no need to purchase an expensive film washing station when you can build one yourself. Do your students ever struggle with getting their film spooled into the tank? Here's a few tips to help make the whole process easier. This works best for spooling film into plastic spools. It really helps to cut off your film leader. There are no images on the film leader because it's the part that you first loaded into your camera. I usually follow my finger along its edge to find its base, and then I cut that off completely. I follow that up by cutting triangles on the end. I want to form it like an arrow so that it'll be much easier to guide into the spool. Make sure that your film spool is dry. Make it toasty with a hairdryer. Many times it's the dampness that creates stoppage when you're trying to spool your film. Oftentimes the stickier, glossier side faces out. That way you won't be fighting the natural curvature of the film spool. Hopefully this hack will make your film developing so much smoother. If you enjoyed these photography hacks, be sure to like and add a comment of your favorite photo hack. We'd love to hear from you. In the next episode, we'll discover clay hacks. Stay tuned.